Hey there guys, it's Bobi aka Paginator, and we're here today to discuss the books that I've read so far in 2023. So we're about halfway through January now. Of course, as I'm filming this, we're just past halfway through. Anyway, we are just rolling into the year. I have read 8 books thus far. Most of them have been audiobooks, but you know, that still counts. And I thought we'd just discuss what I've been reading. I'll tell you what I rated them out of 5 stars and a little bit about each one. So we are going to start with Cupcake by Cookie O'Gorman. I'm going to be putting pictures of each book in this space here so that you can see the covers and I don't have to go haul them back over here from my classroom because that's where most of them are. Those that aren't in the classroom were like audiobooks that I don't have physical copies of. Anyway, so we're starting with Cupcake by Cookie O'Gorman, and this is a contemporary romance set in high school featuring a plus-size character. Ariel, or as she's known by many people, Cupcake, is a senior in high school and she's been elected to the homecoming court. So there's 4 senior girls and 4 senior boys that are part of this court. So they're all officially princes or princesses, and they have to get paired up with a partner and go through these different events through the homecoming week. And at the end of the week at the football game, one of them will be crowned king, one queen. Ariel feels like she's out of place because she is a plus-size girl and she's not sure how exactly she got voted in. A lot of people know her as Cupcake because she loves to bake and she will bring treats to school to share her fun things that she's baked with the people there at school. We do get a glimpse of her baking throughout the book because she does make a vlog series about baking and specifically tying that to movies. So for example, when she watches Mean Girls, there's a dessert that she has themed to Mean Girls. As Ariel finds out, she has been partnered up with this boy Reese, who his name is spelled R-H-Y-S, so like Rhysand from the Sarah J. Maas series. There are some other Easter egg little fun details for fans of Sarah J. Maas throughout this book, which is kind of cool. But these two are going to spend a lot of time together, get to know each other, and potentially develop some kind of romantic connection. I gave this book 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. This author writes very clean romances, so even though it is about high school seniors, I'd be totally fine with my middle schoolers reading this book if they so desired. It was just a really fun, cute romance story. The next book is Northwind by Gary Paulsen. This is the last book that he wrote before he passed away. It is a Scandinavian kind of setting. Our main character, Leif, is an orphan, and throughout his life he's been treated quite badly, being passed from different person to person. And when we meet him, he is alone. His village has been kind of destroyed by this virus, this illness that's kind of taken over. And he is mourning the loss of the small boy that was his friend, wanting to give him a proper Viking funeral, and also needing to find a place in the world to just survive and be. And so he's going to go on this canoe trip by himself to find a proper place to bury this little boy that he was friends with, as well as find a way to survive in the world. And he is accompanied along the way by a pod of killer whales, or orcas. The writing style is really beautiful. It's a lot more lyrical than Gary Paulsen's typical style, but it was a fun, enjoyable read. And I've got a waiting list a mile long in my classroom for kids who want to read the book. Oh, I should also tell you I gave that book 4 stars. Okay, next up is Spineless. This is by Samantha San Miguel. It is an adventure. It's set in the swamps of Florida in, I don't think we're ever told the exact year, but it feels very Victorian era, kind of a little bit of steampunk feels to it. Our main character has pretty severe asthma, and his mom has brought him and his brother to Florida for like a health recovery kind of vacation. Although I'm not sure that swampy humid places are good for asthma. Don't quote me on that though, my mind might be wrong. Anyway, he really wants to be a naturalist, and there's this scientific society in Chicago that he keeps sending papers to, and they write back and say, well, you're young. When you're an adult and you've studied more, write to us again. But when he gets to Florida, he makes friends with the 2 daughters of the hotel's proprietor. They're also interested in animals and studying. And the 3 of them together come across an unknown species, and they have to do a little bit of protecting as well as discovery, because there is someone who wants to just hunt down all of the animals. Up next, I'll tell you about The Door of No Return by Kwame Alexander. This is a verse novel. It is the first in a series. And this is from the author of the crossover book, etc. Almost exclusively writes in verse. And this is a young adult novel about Kofi, a boy living in an African village. I kind of gathered that it was West Africa because they're fairly close to the ocean. But I'm not 100% sure. Anyway. He loves to swim in the river, but he's told the beasts come out at night, don't go out at night. And some pretty tragic things start to happen. There are some intertribal rivalries going on with some political things, as well as the knowledge that somewhere out there are these white people that don't look like them. And they're very dangerous. This, of course, if you haven't got the vibe already, it's going to be leading to like people who captured slaves, etc. As I said, this is a series, so The Door of No Return will be the first one, and we're going to follow Kofi through his journey. And I can't really say much more than that, but I did enjoy the writing style. Kwame Alexander is a beautiful, beautiful verse writer. Up next, we have 1,000 Steps Into Night by Tracy Chee. This was a really enjoyable fantasy. I listened to the audiobook and absolutely loved it. Oh, did I tell you A Door of No Return was a 4-star and Spineless was a 4-star? I keep forgetting to give my ratings. Okay, back to 1,000 Steps Into Night. This was a 4.5 star. I'll just get that out of the way right now. It is inspired by Japanese mythology. We have demons, we have trickster characters, and all kinds of crazy magic stuff happening. Miyuko, our main character, has been cursed to turn into a demon with a deadly touch. And this curse is kind of slow moving. It starts in her toes and works its way up through her body, and her skin starts to turn blue as this curse works its way through her. She does not want to be a demon. She just wants to live her good life, helping her dad with their little inn. They're poor, but, you know, they're together. So, of course, she wants to reverse this curse, and she sets out on a journey to do so. Along the way, she makes a friend who is a trickster. He's also a shapeshifter, shifting between human and bird form. And sometimes his bird form is, like, very, very large. He was a great character, really fun to read. And there was also an element of time travel in this, which a lot of times when we think of time travel, it's sci-fi. But this does show up in a fantasy novel, so that was kind of fun to see. And the writing style was really, really lovely. I enjoyed getting to know the characters. And so far in January, this is my highest rated book. I did give the Cookie O'Gorman book 4.5 stars as well, but if I had to choose between the two, I'd say 1,000 Steps Into Night would be my favorite of those two. Up next is Why We Fly by Kimberly Jones and Gilly Seagull. It is a contemporary book. This is again about high school seniors. This one, though, I would not give to my middle schoolers because of some of the content. We have some drug use. We have some on-page sex and some other things. But setting that aside, this is a 4-star read for me. It is told between 2 different friends, Lenny and Nellie. Lenny's real name is Eleanor, and they're going into their senior year. They're both cheerleaders, and Lenny is coming back from a pretty serious injury. She got injured last year and had to sit out for a long time, but hopefully soon her doctor is going to clear her. She is also entering in a new dating relationship with 3, who is one of the star football players on their high school team. And then we have Chanel, or Nellie. She has kind of been a leader on the team, but in an unofficial role as far as the cheer squad goes, and she worked really hard, and she's been attending camps all through summer. And so when Lenny is chosen as the cheer captain for their senior year, she's pretty upset, and their friendship is tested in that way. We also have an element of protesting and Black Lives Matter kind of stuff. In this book, one of the alumni of their high school was like a fictionalized version of, is his name Colin Kaepernick, that started the kneeling during the national anthem? Was that guy's name? I'm bad at my sports trivia, and my apologies there. But anyway, in this world, the person who started that went to their high school. He's now a pro player, and he's getting a lot of backlash from a lot of people. And one day the cheerleading team decides to spontaneously kneel during the national anthem at one of the football games in support of their I don't know what to say, friend, the alumni from their school. And they also face some backlash from administration, parents, community, the members of the football team, each other. Like there's quite a fallout. So Lenny and Nellie's friendship is being tested in many, many ways. And it's the story of how they get through their senior year with all this stuff going on. Up next, we have Troublemaker by Leah Remini. This is an adult memoir, celebrity memoir. Leah Remini, you might know from King of Queens. I first learned about her when she was on Saved by the Bell. That was such a fun show. Anyway, she grew up in Scientology. Her mom got her and her sisters into it when they were very young, and she has now left Scientology, and this is her memoir of her early life, starting to act, becoming famous, etc., and all the events that led her to leave Scientology. And now she speaks out about it a lot. She hosted an amazing documentary show, Scientology in the Aftermath, with Mike Rinder, who's also a former Scientologist, and they also have a podcast together. They haven't been uploading new episodes recently because Mike Rinder recently wrote a book, and he's been doing like the book promotion tour and stuff. So they've been super busy, but they're always working. They have a foundation to help people who have left Scientology. And it was fascinating to read Leah's story. The audiobook was read in her, like she read it, and that was just adding that much more characterization to the story and learning the person that she is and how she grew up to be who she is. And we learn a lot about things that happened to her while she was in Scientology. And man, that is not a church. That is a cult. And if you disagree with me, that's fine, because you're entitled to your own opinion, but very, very strongly feel for myself that is a cult and it's dangerous. And finally, we're going to talk about The Christmas Bookshop by Jenny Colgan. Jenny Colgan is an auto-buy author for me, although having said that, I listened to the audiobook through Libby and didn't purchase this book physically. But if I ever stumble across one of her books in a store or something, I just snatch it. She writes contemporary romance for adults, and she has a series that's set in Scotland, where she's from, that revolves around books. Like in one of them, a girl runs a mobile bookstore. And this one, it's about a character who moves back home to live with family and gets a job at a bookstore. So it's a lot of like, does your book-loving heart good to read this? Anyway, The Christmas Bookshop is about Carmen, who, after getting fired from a haberdashery, goes back to live at home in Edinburgh with her sister. Her sister has 3 kids and then one on the way, and she is not a fan of children, but she learns to love her nieces and nephew. We also get a little bit of the story from a couple of different characters, not just Carmen, but her sister Sophie, Skylar, who's the kid's nanny, and we hate Skylar. She's garbage. You will see why. A little tiny bit from the bookstore owner, Mr. McCready. He really needs a lot of help. He's older and he's struggling, and she's really kind of there to like save the bookshop. Who else? There are a couple of other men in the story, which I don't want to describe too much because I don't want to like spoil some things. But there are various contributing narrators, and the way that the eventual love story plays out, because this is a Jenny Colgan book, we have to have love story. It's really lovely and sweet, and plus it's set in Scotland, which I just enjoy. I love listening to audiobooks narrated by people with Scottish accents, or people who can do a good fake Scottish accent. I can't do any sort of Scottish accent that doesn't sound like terrifying, so I'm not even gonna try it. But that makes my heart happy to hear books narrated in Scottish accents. So that is it. That is my first 8 reads of 2023. Please let me know in the comments below what you guys have been reading, or if you haven't been reading, what you're hoping to read, or maybe you found this channel because of crafty stuff. So if you're not a reader, like, what did you used to read, or what would you ever read? Or maybe if you just want to say hi because you don't want to talk about reading. And either way, hit me up with a comment, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Have a wonderful, magical, and bookish day. Happy reading. Adios.